Alright, so now I'm going to do the sides. So I have this long bundle here. Dip it in the glue. If a piece comes off when you're squeegeeing it, get rid of it because it's shorter than the rest of the bundle's fibers. So remember we laid the first one in the exact center? Well, we want to stagger this one and put the center of this bundle right where the joint is between the two that run down the middle. Alright. So when you smear it down, you don't want to overlap the center bundle, but you want to butt it up really close. If it runs over the side, just take your finger and fold it over. When this is perfectly dry, you can come back and sand this. But I like to extend it over the edge a bit so the edges are taken care of. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I put a thicker bundle at the very end of the limb where it gets thinner. And I did that for a reason. It's actually easier to do that. And it doesn't really matter about inconsistencies in your sinew job because, well, it doesn't bend right there, it's a reflex. So lay down your sinew bundle where it needs to be. Don't overlap it with the one beside it. You can just tap it into place. Alright. Now you can smear it down. You want to pay careful attention to any overlapping. And then just fold this on over the edge. Make sure you have a good bond on the edge too. So I'm going to do this with the rest of the bow, and then we will have our first layer. Before you put the second layer on the bow, you want it to dry to the point where it doesn't feel tacky, and that'll know it's set pretty good and you won't rearrange any of the fibers by accident. So I'm going to turn this camera off and complete the first layer, and I'll see you guys when I have it done. Okay, so I got the first layer done, and I want to show you guys what I mean when the sinew bundles dry at different rates. So you can see that the center of the bow is more clear than the sides. It's because I put the center bundle down first and it's drying more. So don't let that confuse you and make you think that there's less sinew there and you need to compensate for it. You want to wait until the bow is 100% dry before you put down the next sinew layer. Alright, my sinew is now dry. Let me show this. And it only took a couple hours in the sun, so we can now do our second layer. So I'm going to heat this glue back up just to get it warm. You don't want to damage the proteins in here, you don't want to cook them. You just want to get it warm and viscous. So I'm going to go do that and get some sinew ready. Alright, so we have our bow and the first layer is done and it has dried. So now we're going to do the second layer. So remember, we put our first bundle right in the center. I can see right here where the overlap is in the center, so I'm going to put this right on top of that. So my next overlap will be in the center. Try and think of a brick wall. That's the idea here. It helps if your smoothing stick is wet, especially if you have glue on it already. Oh. I also failed to mention that you need, and I almost forgot myself, you need a layer of glue. So let's put some glue on here. Not a very thick one, but just enough to have some glue in between your bundle and the last layer. Alright, that should be fine. So we're going to lay this right there. Pretty fiddly process. Getting them all straightened out. So that's a lot better. Make sure every single fiber is compacted down onto the surface of the bow. Hide glue shrinks, but it doesn't shrink that much. Sometimes you can dip your finger in water and encourage it to stick a little better. Alright, so there's one. Notice how that pulled off right there. Just going to put it in my pile of scrap sinew for shorter bundles.